This is a story about a young man who grew up in a very privileged, rich home and was given everything in his life until he did something tragic. A man that grew up in a wealthy oil family that donated to major Republican causes, that gave their son everything. He went to good schools, lived in a good neighborhood, in a good home. He went to Texas Tech University, started in business administration to be a part of the family oil business, but couldn't quite find his niche, kept changing majors, moved to LA to try his hand at songwriting, nothing clicked. His family kept supporting him through all of it. He moved to Connecticut to study journalism and writing. And then one day, out of the blue, this boy who was given everything attempted to assassinate a Republican president, shocking everyone. Now, one could jump to the immediate conclusion after the event, like we do today, that this troubled young man, while he was at university, was indoctrinated with leftist, liberal ideas that made him crazy and angry at people on the right for their views. Until they learn that this boy also was obsessed with a girl and he was just trying to impress her, which could lead one to say that, well, all those other things are true, but also because of this girl, he wouldn't have done this. So she's partly to blame for whatever happened because of her involvement with him, that he was pursuing her and she didn't reciprocate. It's her fault too. Until you learn also that this young man had months and months before also attempted to assassinate the current president at the time, a Democrat in Dayton, Ohio, came within 20 feet. Therefore, how could you be going after a Democrat and a Republican to impress a girl if it was about politics? Because it wasn't about politics. We're talking about John Hinckley Jr., of course, and his obsession with Jodie Foster that lead him to try to get her attention by making a big historical splash by assassinating someone of prominence to impress her. Had nothing to do with politics. It had everything to do with what we should be talking about in any of these cases, which is someone who's going to do this in such a high profile way is disturbed, is mentally unwell. And that is not the end of that story. It's then why is it so simple for them to access a firearm to do this? Because John Hinckley Jr. is the exact same story we keep seeing. He was an unwell young man who had undiagnosed issues because there was nothing to force him to get diagnosed with the issues he's had, schizophrenia and depression. That happened after the fact. He had tried to assassinate Jimmy Carter in Dayton, Ohio, came within 20 feet. He was later, like a month later, grabbed at the Nashville airport with firearms, detained, questioned, weapons confiscated, given a $50 fine, and set free, which he then went to a pawn shop in Texas and bought more firearms. He trained for years and years and years with those weapons. Why was it so easy for him, with someone with undiagnosed mental health issues, to get a hold of firearms to do something that drastic? That is the conversation, not everything around it that you'll jump to a conclusion to try to create a story that makes you feel good about a cause that justifies your righteous rage against people that you hate. This is about an individual doing something drastic to get the attention or to come up with some insane, illogical reason, because if you do that, there is no rhyme or reason or logic. It's going to be confusing, messy, and tragic, always. It's about what can we do in some reasonable way to make sure that people who are unfit to have a firearm, a thing that can end so many lives in so short a time, don't get access to it. Obviously, the first thing that people that are against this say, like, well, won't stop all of it. No, duh. No one is saying it stops all things. No laws stop things from happening. We have laws against murder, yet they still happen. We have laws against drunk driving, yet they still happen. And we have an entire system built around driving that tries to keep people safe, yet it doesn't always. That doesn't mean we throw out all those laws and don't even try. We don't stop having bumpers and turn signals and airbags and brakes. We don't stop having speed limits and anything to protect people from that. We don't just give up because we don't get rid of all of it. You try to mitigate. You try to keep people as safe as possible. And we should do the same here, and that should be the conversation, not the bullshit stuff that puts people who are unrelated to the incident in danger and harm's way. And when you do that, you're doing it on purpose because you don't care about what happened. You care about vengeance and getting after people that you don't like, perpetuating the problem in perpetuity. You are inflating the balloon because you want it inflated, because you want it to pop, because you think it'll benefit you, and it won't, and it doesn't, and you're missing the entire fucking point. At some point, we have to have a leader that doesn't keep inflating the balloon, who doesn't keep trying to force a story as if life is some sort of hour-long drama that can fit in a neat, tidy beginning, middle, and end with a conclusion that makes them feel happy. Because life isn't that way, and these situations aren't that way, and they shouldn't be treated that way. Let it unfold. Stop jumping the gun. Stop poisoning people's minds with things that you want to be true to justify the actions you want to take, which is to eliminate all opposition, to eliminate all people who oppose you and talk about you in ways that you don't like, to get rid of our Constitution, get rid of our freedom of speech, which has consequences and uncomfortableness, which should have some guidelines and regulations around it, as well as the Second Amendment. But no, we don't talk about that. And that's the problem. And it's not going to go away until we have someone who's a grown up enough to say, hey, knock it the fuck off. How about we propose in the House of Representatives right now a Charlie Kirk assault weapons ban, or a Charlie Kirk reasonable gun laws, a Charlie Kirk mental health gun check, whatever it is. Let's propose that law so that this doesn't happen again. Everyone should get behind that, right? Everyone on the right, you should get behind that. So this doesn't happen again to someone that you love, right? Because if you can't get behind that and you don't want that, then this is not about what happened at all. Not at all. You're clearly showing that you're using this as justification for inflating that balloon because you think when it pops, it's not going to hurt you. Anyway, that's all. Thanks for listening. I love you. Bye.